This is Nick Williams and I'm here in Surrey with Sarah Alexandra. Hi Sarah, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Good, we've known each other for a couple of years. I've always admired you and your work, and you're now the author of a book called Spiritual Intelligence in Business.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
So I think a lot of people watching this will go, well, what is spiritual intelligence and how does it apply to business? So what's your take on spiritual intelligence? To start with, what is spiritual intelligence to you?
I think for me spiritual intelligence is just really, there obviously are many facets to it, but perhaps one of the main key elements is that every part of your business, every decision that you take regarding your business comes from that place of perhaps intuition, inspiration, sense of inner direction, and it's about developing your own inner connection rather than allowing yourself always to be influenced by perhaps what is the logical thing to do, what we're kind of trained to do. You know, a lot of focus these days is on growth and profitability and you know, shareholder value and things like that. And to be honest, you can run a very successful business without having to focus exclusively on those things, but to really allow your intuition to guide you as to how to make the business most profitable.
Okay, so as part of the kind of assumption or the core belief then that we have an inner intelligence and inner guidance system.
Absolutely, that's right. You know,
so that's your core belief in a way, is it?
Most definitely, that we have an innate wisdom within us, and that it's not only guiding us to what really is best for us, but also that innate wisdom knows our talents, our skills, our abilities, and all the things that we could do in our life, and it kind of guides us to things that are in alignment with that.
Okay.
And the kind of good thing about it is that if we're following that kind of flow of our inner wisdom, we're guided to things that we're kind of naturally effective at, and also we like doing them as well. So,
because I think that'd be interesting for a lot of people in business, because you know there's so many external experts in business and so much advice that you're given in business, and I know certainly a lot of people that are starting off in business, you know, the inspired entrepreneurs as I call them, they're often overwhelmed by other people's advice. So presumably part of your advice is you've already got answers within you.
Most definitely. I mean, there is value, there is no doubt in having the knowledge that kind of business teaching and best business practice can give you. But having got that knowledge, there's actually, to my mind, far more value in really kind of following what is welling up within you to do. And, you know, going with the feeling of, well, what feels right for me? Is that person the right person for me to work with? Are those premises the right premises for me to set up a business in? You know, are these people good who are part of our network? Are we naturally kind of synergistic? And I think, you know, it's quite scary often to turn away from the kind of demands of business plans and number crunching and market research and thinking, well, actually, I just intuitively know that this is the right thing for me. And, you know, I've kind of run a couple of businesses, and I have to confess I don't even know how to do a business plan, let alone having ever done one. And, you know, maybe you could say, well, there's a certain kind of value in beginner's luck and the lack of knowledge, but I've always really tried to follow what has kind of been coming up for me to do, rather than thinking, right, I must head off and do this.
That's interesting. So it almost sounds like you believe that spiritual intelligence has its own business plan, if you like. There is a plan for the unfolding of yourself and your work and your business. So is that one of your core beliefs then?
Most definitely, yes, that's right. That there is, I mean, you know, a Taoist would call it the Tao of your business, the kind of a natural current of energy that is for you to do within your entire business life. And the more you can kind of follow that current of energy, the easier things actually are for you. And what I find now is that kind of whatever is next for me to do sort of pops up in my life, and I just trek off and do it. And then the next thing comes along. So I don't do lots of, you know, research into things. I just find things sort of come along for me, and off I go and do them. And these things interest me, they excite me, and it all happens very naturally. But it would be easy to, of course, be terribly logical and think, right, well, the next step is this, and the next step is that, and that's not realistic.
So what I'm kind of getting from what you're saying is you believe there's almost like an evolutionary force inside you that's always wanting you to be moving forward.
Yes,
and will guide you and teach you how to move forward and grow you to move forward. Is that right?
Most definitely, yes, that's right. And I think, you know, part of that is, and perhaps part of the very sort of spiritual aspect of that, is really having a right intention behind what you're doing. You know, the Buddhists have got this term called right view, which is very much that in everything you do, you're not just thinking purely about, well, you know, what is the right thing for me, what's the greatest benefit to me, but how can what I do really be of benefit to other people, and perhaps be of benefit to a wider audience, ultimately perhaps the world, and, you know, given we live in this kind of globally independent community now. So, you know, always you have this kind of philosophy of like, well, how can I best assist others? And by coming at things from that philosophy, it's amazing how people then are naturally drawn to you as well.
So again, I'm picking up the idea that, you know, you can then have a business based on personal good and greater good at the same time, that it's a true win-win.
Most definitely.
And ultimately that it is a win-win, and it's only when we get in our own way that it's not a win-win.
That's right, yes, exactly, yes. And I think, you know, keeping that kind of focus on kind of thinking about the other person and off our own personal self-focus, which, you know, is actually quite tough to do, because we feel we must always protect our own self-interest. But if we can move beyond that and think, okay, well, how best can I be of service or assist others, then it's amazing how things can really open up for us as a result of that focus.
Great. So just before we wrap up, just like a couple of tips. So if somebody kind of feels in alignment with what you're saying and thinks, yeah, but I've been so logically kind of conditioned to think about business and what I think I should do and what the bank manager says I should do and all the rest of it, how do they start tuning into trusting and following their own spiritual intelligence in their business? How do they do that?
I think the first thing is you've got to be willing to give it a go, and really also be willing to actually start to connect in with yourself and how you feel as you go throughout your day, and kind of notice where you're being drawn to. There's a lot of kind of business literature around, you know, we used to be very focused in what we're doing, and I always think actually if you've got quite a soft focus as you go out throughout your day, then, you know, things can kind of be drawn to your awareness that really are for you to look at. And from that, of course, the basis really of spiritual intelligence is to have some form of regular meditation practice as well. You know, ideally a daily meditation practice.
So that's to centre yourself and then become aware of your own internal guidance, if you like.
That's right, internal guidance. And also I think meditation practice, when you know, done quite sort of religiously, is done to connect you within. And it is that inner connection that gives you the guidance that you need.
Great. And just one final question before we wrap up that I'm personally interested in. How do you integrate, if you like, you know, the inner guidance with the good thinking? Do you see them working together? And how do you see them working together?
I think really one naturally comes as a result of another, because spiritual intelligence inevitably will connect you with your sense of a higher power, be that higher power God or Jesus or Buddha or Allah, you know, whatever it is, the universal energies, yes, that's right, whatever you believe in. And I think something that comes as a result of that connection with something that is so much bigger than you is a shift in thinking from me to you. And, you know, the way really to connect with that higher power is to spend some time going within, and whether you call it sort of prayer or contemplation time or real meditation practice, you know, one naturally evolves into the other.
Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me and let other people eavesdrop on this conversation. Thank you very much indeed.
Great, thank you.